Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Just wanted to quickly let you know that I'm in the throes of the next big step, and so today's episode is a brand new episode, and it is Doug and I, and it is for women, men, and relationships, but I'm putting it everywhere because it's a great topic and conversation about how do you keep your identity, how do you compromise in relationship without losing yourself, how do you keep the self protected from losing it when you're in relationships. And while we do talk about personal relationships, it could be applied to business relationships as well as friendships. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships.
God, you get like right into the episode, like no foreplay at all. You just jump right into the sack with me.
Yes, sir. I am in the sack with you right now. We are actually in bed. Surprise, surprise. I think it might become the new thing.
This is a good thing. I now like put my pajamas on, which is very minimal clothing. I am holding it close. The microphone.
No one can see when I did that. You don't have to let everybody know that I'm trying to shove the mic in your mouth a little bit more, just because I have to adjust the levels. I'm the one that edits this. So welcome, everyone. I am happy to say that this is a fun little thing.
JJ and I are still together.
We are still together. We are podcasting in bed.
Yep.
I've got the perfect picture to post eventually, although it's not from today's episode or any of the episodes we've actually done for this show. But we are back from Austin, Texas.
Yeehaw.
And currently today is Thursday, which means I am head and knee deep in the next big step. So yeah, today is the day. Today's the day that everyone gets together to embark on a journey for the next 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, of taking a little deeper dive into who they are, learning about how they attract relationships, how they deal with nutrition and food and mindset and law of attraction and money to improve their lives. So on that, Doug, you had an idea about some things you wanted to discuss on today's episode.
I did?
You did.
Was it good?
Well, go ahead. Say what it was.
I forget what it was such a great idea. I forgot what it was. I think I remember what the idea was. I think I remember the idea. So the idea that I came up with for today's episode, because I think that it is probably typical in many relationships that people have, is how do you stay true to yourself when you're involved in a relationship? How do you stay true to your core beliefs, your message, your ego, your actions? How do you stay true to that and still please the partner that you have in your relationship? Or if the partner that you have in your relationship is not happy with the way that you do things, how much give and take and cooperation and maybe sacrifice do you make in order to make the relationship work? So that's it's a good starting point. So what are your thoughts?
Well, it begs the question I first have to ask. Are you feeling compromised in your beliefs or who you are in this relationship?
No, not at all. I actually feel quite good. I feel like I can actually be myself. And when there is a difference between maybe an action that I have and something that you think should be different, or maybe you would handle differently, I love the fact that we can have this conversation. And it basically, the conversation is, explain why you act this way, and then we have that conversation, and you just want a clear understanding so that your interpretation and maybe the way that you comprehend the way that I do things, I don't know. It seems like you just try to make sure that you understand why and what is behind the actions that I take, unless I'm wrong about that.
No, the bottom line was, do you feel that you can't be yourself? Are you having any of those thoughts or feelings in this relationship?
And my answer is unequivocally not.
Okay.
I feel like
I have to ask because you put it out there, and so
it's funny. Every time we come up with a topic for the episode, I feel like this is a test of this relationship.
No, well, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to talk to you about today, and what we want to talk about, and what was alive in us right now. And you had a great idea, and so that no one else on the other side of the mic or is listening thinking, does he mean JJ? Is she causing a situation?
If anything, I look at this and think, oh my gosh, I have never been able to be more truer to myself than I have been with in this relationship. I feel like that's probably why I'm a sensitive guy. Probably why I cry more in this relationship than ever before. Not because I'm unhappy, but because I feel like if I say something, I can let my feelings out. It's like I don't have to stifle those feelings. So while some people might say, well, why is he crying when he's in the relationship? He should be happy when he's in the relationship. I'm beginning to understand that when I do something different than the way that you would do it, even if we differ on that, I feel like I am able to release myself. I'm able to step back and step out of the situation and actually think about why it is that I do things. And I can tell you that I think a lot about like what wounds from my past I am trying to heal in this relationship itself. And so I do get a chance to really do a much deeper analysis about my actions than ever before. And I can do it openly, without judgment, and with support from you to help me actually understand why I do the things I do.
Good. Okay. Just want to make sure I cleared up any doubt anyone had, as well as myself, just to make sure that you didn't have any feelings you wanted to express, because give Doug the mic and turn on the recorder and you're going to get truth serum here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So so let's talk about that. Let's talk about, because you asked the question, how do you not compromise yourself? And at first, one of my thoughts that came up when you said that was, I see a lot of people, it's probably one of the reasons why I'm not a fan. And now, listeners, when you take this, don't take this personally. I'm not talking to you directly, because I don't, there's a lot of you. So it's like, I'm not singling out any person and telling a story about you, especially if you don't know me and I don't know you. But I am always a little hesitant about really getting behind or supporting or believing in a lot of marriages that happen really young, because you don't even know who you are when you're younger, and I'll say that, and I'll say at the same time, there are plenty of 60 and 70-year-olds who don't know who they are either.
Yeah, but let me just argue the point for just a second. I know you haven't even made the point, but let me just argue and defend the 20-somethings that are now, let's say, 30-somethings that have learned through trial and error, or through therapy, or through community, or through support, that all of the same principles apply to them as apply to someone that's in their 40s or 50s. And I mean, shit, I've had 2 failed marriages and plenty of relationships where I can't figure out what the fuck happened along the way. And I'm 53.
Right. And so, like I said, with that, you said, how do you not lose yourself? How do you not compromise your beliefs and who you are? And my first thought was, you first have to know who you are, and you definitely find out who you are in these situations and circumstances. So of course, marriages and divorces and separations and all that kind of stuff will teach you about who you are if you're paying attention, if you're taking the lessons, if you're looking at it from a different point of view. So I'll say now on this show that I had a session with a new medical intuitive, and I will tell you more about that later, and it'll appear on different shows because of the content. But one of the things that she wanted to ask me about was relationships. And I mentioned that I was in transition, so there was nothing that I needed from her to heal or clear necessarily right now, because I felt like things were good. And I think working with Lisa Thomas and working with Lynn and doing some of the work that I've done, I wasn't sure what to ask for. I don't know what patterns are going to come up in my relationship with you, because it's really not been that long, right? So I don't know, when we really get down to it, if I'm going to be repeating patterns or not, and what those are. So she does this session, and then she sends you back a CD. And
guess what came in the mail while we were in Austin, Texas?
My CDs.
So we get back home, and it's like, we had all of these plans. I mean, we were going shopping. We were maybe going to the beach. We were going out to dinner. Oh no, the DVD, the CDs arrived in the mail. I knew what that meant. It meant, I'm going to get on the bicycle and I'm going to do some riding around while you spend a couple of hours checking it out. And it was good. I'm glad. I love when shit happens like this, when you get really excited and focused on something, because I know that shit's about to get real, and not in a bad way. Shit changes, and you make decisions when evidence is provided to you. And it's like, good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. It's like, I knew when those CDs came in the mail, I'm like, shit is going to happen. The only thing I can tell you that is comparison is when the Columbia House cassettes used to come to my I was so,
right, I remember those.
So ready
and
for Journey and Foreigner and all that to come in the mail.
Yeah.
And the CD arrived, and I'm like, oh God, this is great. So I gave you I'm hoping you feel like I gave you the space that you needed.
You did, and thank you for understanding that I needed to get in there because there were some pretty big questions asked that would have been, let's say, if the answer went in one direction, I would have probably had to compose myself and pick myself off the floor. And then if it went another direction, I'd be relieved.
That was the exact question I asked you. I was like, hey, listen, I don't know what questions exactly that you asked the medical intuitive, but is there a possibility when I come back that you're going to be a wreck?
It was a great question. It was very insightful that you asked that, and I said, yes, there's a good chance that I will
kind of have in my brain, okay, when I come back, what am I going to be coming back to? I'm going to go on this nice little bike ride, and I'm going to come back, and she's going to either be
relieved
or
a
curled
mess.
up in the fetal position in the corner.
Yep, crying in a fetal position, but that was not the case. So,
Okay.
so which is good. But so the point of the story about the medical intuitive was that she added the relationship piece in, and she told me that my last relationship had a contract of 14 years. And I didn't really ask for that. But it was what wanted to come through. It's what information wanted to be provided to me. And without being a medical intuitive or being clairvoyant, I sort of knew that. I didn't know it was 14 years because we're going to end up being at 13 years. But I know, and I said this before on this show and the coming out show, if you will, the Sacred Contract show, is that my marriage and my relationship was right until it wasn't. I checked in with myself all the time. I did a deep dive into myself from a very deep soul-centered place, not from a head place, not from even from a heart place, but from am I in the right place? Should I be here? Is this what needs to be happening? And all the time I kept getting confirmation that I was. And as we all know in retrospect, if I hadn't, half of my business was built around wanting to help my marriage, especially the Fit to Love podcast show, and all of the different guests and all the different things I talked about. And while I was learning and hoping to inspire others to learn, if it wasn't for all of that, you and I would not be here. I would not be who I am right now, and we would not be in this position. And so I say that because while I did just say that I don't really support or really love when all of you get married really young, because I don't think you know who you are, but it's it's possibly part of your contract, and that's fine. And of course, if that's you and you end up it not working out and you learn a lesson or you don't learn a lesson, or it takes you 2 marriages to even realize there's a lesson to be had, everyone's journey is going to be different. But if we're looking at the most idealistic way of looking at this conversation and this question, which is how do you not lose yourself, you first have to know yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I missed that entire process that you were going through to get to that. You're right. In order to know yourself, in order to figure out if you're true to yourself, you have to know yourself first. Very true. Very true. And I would have to say that in my first marriage, which happened when I got married in, I think I was 25 in my first marriage, and I was seeing her for about a year and a half prior to that. So yeah, it's kind of young. It's kind of young. You really don't know yourself. I look and I kind of envy the people that are in my life now, or the people that had come into my life that had waited until their mid-30s to get married. And maybe that's why my second wife was in her mid-30s, because I think I understood what she was going through. It's really, you don't have the ability to get to know yourself at such a young age. But I think it is a contract that we make.
Well, you can. I mean, there are a lot of you who are listening to the show write to me, and I know I have a huge millennial crowd and even younger, 18, 17. And then I've got those of you that are in your 40s and 50s and 60s who are struggling with addiction in your marriage and, possible divorce and should I leave him and what should I do? So there's a vast array of you who are listening to this show and to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. And we're all always on a journey, and it's the balance between enjoying it and embracing the lessons. And I think that's why Spirit, Purpose, Energy is done so well. It's because, to me, that's what law of attraction is. It's about not taking yourself so seriously and being able to recognize problems as contrast, which are just clarifying moments that help you to get closer to what it is that you want. And I think that there's a balance between knowing who you are and doing the work. Okay, so over dinner tonight, you and I had this conversation about some of the stuff that we go back and forth on that, let's say, are room for improvement, or issues that maybe get in your way that you don't like ultimately, or habits and patterns that are now saying, hey, it's time for me to maybe look at this or not. And you said something very, honest about that you have been working more on your business and on you being in your business versus you working on you.
Right. Well, my biggest concern was that while I have all the confidence in the world from a selling, sales, relationship building perspective, I have this scarcity when it comes to money, and there is a disconnect between having confidence in business and having the dollars right along with it. It's almost like I feel like the thing that separates me from so you have scarcity on the left side of the equation, you have this self-confidence and confidence on the right side of the equation, and then in the center here I have this thing that is just this block. It's just I just can't seem to get through it. And the whole scarcity idea, it shuts me down, and I don't know why. I don't know why I have it.
Okay, so we're not going to necessarily deal with that one today on the show, but the point is that you made the comment that you aren't working on you as much as you maybe either would like to or should be, or think is going to actually make some change.
Well, when we were in Austin and we sat in that, we had a mastermind group, just so you guys know that are listening to this, we had sat in a 4-day conference, and on day 5, the 5th day was just those that were the organizers of the event, the whatever you called us, the people, the influencers that were in the room, and there was 40 of us that were there, and 30 some odd got together. And as we're sitting in that room, I realized that, holy shit, there are so many people that are just like me. It made me feel like it's okay to be here and have these thoughts, but it's not okay to sit here and not move on from these thoughts. You have to move on. We're all at our various states of our, of states of progress of our journey. We've got to all move beyond this. If you have confidence but on one side, but you have scarcity on the other, you've got to try to focus on improving yourself so that the two will come together and the scarcity idea will go away, and you'll be able to have a business that will be completely balanced when it comes to taking that confidence without having too much of an ego, and build your business based upon that confidence. It's just getting there. It's just getting there that's the biggest challenge. We are all in various states of progress for self-improvement.
So how do you keep your balance? How do you keep who you are when you're in a relationship? So like I said, the first thing is you have to know who you are. And who you are is going to change and evolve, by the way, so there's no end point to that. But knowing who you are now and being clear about that. So for those of you that are single or in a relationship that may be shifting, or those of you that are married and want to do this exercise, one of my best, most favorite recommendations for a book is Dr. Cherie Carter Scott, If Love is a Game, These Are the Rules. It is an old book. It came out in 1998 or 9. It is very simple, easy read. I don't believe you can get it on Amazon. I think you have to go to her site, but you can look it up, which would be drcheriecarterscott.com. That's CHERIE. And she endorsed Fit to Love. I love her. I love her books. I love her work. And one of the best parts about If Love is a Game, These Are the Rules is actually the first 2 chapters. And the first chapter is about the self-love part, which I love. And obviously, Fit to Love is really all about that. And so is all the work I do. But the second chapter is about the evaluation. What is it that you want? Let's say you're single, you're starting over, and you're thinking, what do I want out of a relationship? And you literally make a list. And I've gone through this with clients for the last 20 years. You make a list. It's a 3-part list. And the first part of the list is the must-haves. And that part should be no more than 3 or 5 points that a partner you want to have has, right? They're like a non-negotiable. They have to have these. Otherwise, it will not be a good life. And then you have the
likes to have fun, likes to laugh, likes to travel, likes to enjoy life. All those 3 or 4 that I just mentioned, they're all in the enjoyment side of life. I don't even necessarily think I necessarily need a woman that is. I guess I want somebody that's motivated, but it's not one of those top 3.
Okay, well that's
enjoy.
Good to know.
I want somebody that is a partner that can enjoy life.
Okay, so there's that top 3 to 5. And they're called must-haves. Flip down to the opposite side of the spectrum, and we're going to go knockout punch. That is the 3 or 5 things that there's no way you could live with, and they can't have it, they can't do it, whatever it may be. It's not negotiable.
Addictions. Geez, those are tough. What would you pick for those?
Well, it changed over the years. So let me finish the list, and I'll tell you what I think I shared. And I actually probably could have gone and got the file out because this was one of my favorite exercises. So the middle of the list is called your wish list. And this can be as long as you want it to be. This can be 20 points, 50 points, 10 points. And it's all of the stuff that you would like to have ideally, but they're not going to make or break the relationship if you don't have them. And the first time I made this list, I then manifested exactly what I asked for. And in that first relationship, I realized, oh, shit, I don't want that. I thought I wanted that, and now I have it. I don't like it.
Oh, you mean on your must-haves, you came up with 3 to 5 things, you found those things, and you're like, no, this is not what I wanted?
Correct.
Wow. Like what? Any idea what any of those were?
Yeah, I wanted someone to be more like me. I wanted someone to be who has the same interests, who was at the time, now we're going to dial back, it's 1997, 98. I wanted someone who was in the entertainment industry somehow, like an actor, singer, dancer, at the same time also personal training and interested in personal training. And guess what I found? That exact package that then was very narcissistic as well as gay. That's a whole other story. But
very hard, very challenging to have a
relationship,
romantic
right,
relationship
with
somebody that is gay.
Well, he was in the closet and he still might be, but nonetheless, I did not like the combination of all the things I asked for.
That would like look at you up and down and
Yep.
say, "I can't believe you're wearing that."
Yep. Yep. He was also a Sag, which is funny because when I thought that there may be a chance I'd be single again, I did say, okay, let's just play the game of, in the case that I am single again, what is it that I would do differently? And one of the 2 things I said was, astrologically, I think I'd like a Sag this time because I've always asked for Pisces and I've always got a Pisces.
All right,
and
so you got the must-haves, you got the knockout
punch at the
deal
bottom,
breakers,
and the wish list in the middle.
Wish list in the middle. Okay.
Now, I would revisit this list pretty much after every relationship and I would make it, and if I wasn't in a relationship, I would make a new list every year, or at least I'd look at the list and reevaluate the list.
Wow, you are very specific. I have never ever in my entire life. You're a wise woman. You are truly wise. You so live consciously.
Well, I was born awake, and so that's the curse, because when you're 15 years old and telling your family what you see, and they're going, well, how did you know that was going to happen? And why? How did she know that? And then being made to feel weird because you notice things that people didn't take into consideration or weren't aware of. It's the curse and the blessing at the same time. So you just deal with it. And for those of you that have only sort of become conscious recently, you can, Doug.
I'm raising my hand as high as I can right now.
Right.
So true. It's so true.
Well, it's not like I lived in an environment that was terribly conscious. I'm just saying. It's not like I have family members who modeled this for me. I was pulled to this. I was the oddball out. I was the black sheep. I was the one who was weird. People didn't talk like me. People weren't interested in what I was interested in. So, but I was always the kid that asked why. That's all the Sag in me. So for those of you, this is what I would recommend when it comes to relationships. Know what you want first and foremost. And that's just about manifesting the relationship. Doug asked the question, how do you not lose who you are? That work goes back to sort of some of the, that's just deeper work of, well, who are you? What interests you? What do you stand for? What do you believe? I can stand here in a certain amount of power and faith because I've asked the question, what do I believe? And I've answered the question, what do I believe? And I don't know if anyone can ask me a question I can't answer about what I believe.
Maybe this is just an aha moment that I'm just hitting right now, but why can't you apply the same principles in relationships to business as well? It's living consciously is not just a relationship thing. It's an entrepreneur's goal. It's a business person's dream to be able to build their business consciously, not letting business happen, but making shit happen in their business.
I would agree. And I would say that from personal experience, most people think of business as a way to pay the bills. So when you chase the money, in my experience, as well as watching others do it, which is what all my new show is all about, Health and Wealth, that's going to come out in October or November.
I loved it, by the way, the concept that we had discussed just today, and at some point you'll share that with
I mean, I'm doing another new show called Health and Wealth for a couple different reasons, but most people who chase the dollar lose it. Even if they get it, they lose it, and they go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down, or they get sick because they have a complete imbalance and they give up health and relationships to chase down the dollar. So is that conscious? No. Is they successful in business? Sure, but at what cost? So I think that consciousness in business and being an entrepreneur, especially for me in my evolution, I've done enough work to let go of comparing myself to where others are, because I know what I'm doing is a little bit bigger in a deeper way, not necessarily in a financial way, not necessarily in a get me on the cover of Forbes magazine way. I mean, not that couldn't still happen, but it's not, I don't care. I care about making a difference. I care about living my truth. I care that I do work I love and that feeds me and fuels me, because when I didn't, it exhausted me. I had adrenal fatigue. I wasn't well. My relationships didn't go well. And I see too many people get cancer, get divorced, have breakdowns, just have heart attacks, people who just chase money. And when you chase money, and you think of it as not an extension of you or not an energy that's conscious, then I think there's a consequence to that.
I want to be a billionaire.
So freaking bad. Yeah, I love that song. But, so I think it's finding that thing. It's the advice that I gave some people at this event last week when they asked me about podcasting. They said, what advice would you have about someone who wants to start a podcast? And I said, have your mission be top of mind. Have your mission and your message be the most important thing to you, not how much money you make from the show, not how many people you absolutely touch like right away. You have to be dedicated to the mission and the message. How you deliver it, how you package it, how you market it, that can all change. But if you don't have a passion for what it is you're doing, then again, it's going to be short-lived, and I don't think it's going to attract the right kind of people. So again, wrapping this back into how do you not lose yourself? You have to start to know who you are, which means, people, that doing work on yourself. I mean, how many of you spend time and money and energy fixing your car, fixing your house, working on your finances, getting education for your job and your skills at your job?
Well, who said at the conference this past week, we spend more time learning how to use our iPhone than learning how to understand anything about our own selves.
Right. Become a master of you. And the only way to do that is you're going to need to take some time to work with others, coaches, therapists, workshop leaders, whomever, to study yourself.
I need to step up to the genius bar of Doug.
Exactly. Exactly. You need to ask, you need to be curious about how you work. Instead of saying, well, how come that's the way that is over there? Why does that work like that? Ask yourself, why do I think like that? Why do I act like that? Why do I behave like that? Why do I believe that? Why do I keep repeating that? Why did I manifest that? Why did that happen to me? If you can turn it around, then you're going to be successful because you're going to be able to understand the root patterns that create your results. And so whether it be money or relationships or happiness, you have to be able to check in with you. And that's where people who are unhappy in relationships often are alcoholics or some kind of addict. They have some kind of addiction. And again, workaholism is an addiction. So it could be that they work too much. It doesn't have to be a substance abuse. Or they've got so much repression of their own desires they're not even aware of. That they have anxiety. And then they're so busy trying to fight it off and not pay attention to it that causes depression.
I was so excited getting off the plane in LA, just getting rid of the humidity and the rain that Austin, Texas provided, landing in LA, and just, it was sunny, it was warm, it was in like the mid-70s, short car ride home, and we were here. I felt home again.
I'm glad, baby. I'm glad you feel home. I feel home with you, and I feel home with you here. And it feels really good. And I know I had a couple great compliments over the course of the week in Austin from some attendees that were very self-reflective that I thought were really cool. I mentioned it today on a Facebook Live that I did with Ruby Fremon. And one of them was a woman had done an exercise with me where we were looking at each other and staring. Did you do that exercise?
Oh, no, that was the coolest exercise. Maybe can you give like just a little synopsis of the exercise, how it broke down some barriers there? I was standing, I DJ'd the entire conference, so when that was going on, I didn't pair up with anybody, and then I felt a little bit awkward that I hadn't paired up with somebody.
I'll do the exercise with you.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be so intense with two people that completely know each other, because it will break down a different barrier.
Well, we will try it.
So explain the exercise.
Well, it's basically you stand nose to nose as close as you comfortably can get without freaking out and passing your limits and boundaries of vulnerability, actually. So it's really like get really close. And there was a certain time frame. It was a couple minutes where people basically just looked in each other's eyes. And the point was to be seen. And there was no talking, and there was no touching, and there was no, I don't even know if there was any music. Did they have you play any music?
No music at all.
Right. And so the point was to, again, break the barrier and to be seen. And we sat down, and my partner said to me, I want to tell you, I came over to this table because you were sitting here, and I wanted to be, around you to, I don't know if she wants to be on the show or not. Her product or service doesn't really fit my shows, but she told me she wanted to come meet me, and then she said, I felt really seen, and I felt your love, and I felt you hold the space for me, and I felt really safe, and I felt your attention on me. And she's like, I never take my glasses off for anybody. I feel very vulnerable, but I felt really safe with you. And I said, well, thank you. And then I said, can I ask you a question? Did you feel that way about me before the exercise? And she said, no.
Wow.
But I knew the answer. And I said, can I ask you what you thought about me before the exercise? And she said, well, you're very confident and you're very strong or powerful or whatever she said. And she said, so therefore I feel like you were kind of unapproachable.
I said the same thing about you when I met you too. I felt like you were confident and that you knew a lot of answers already. And you even asked me the question, do you think that we would have been friends? Now, this was after we had already broached the relationship. But I said, no, I was not expecting to be your friend. And you took it the wrong way. You took it as
okay, well, with you, because you were a client when I asked you that, and because of your confidence level in other areas is where I didn't want to look at where you weren't confident or where you might have felt what you saw in the video. You might have felt intimidated.
Well, we look at our strengths as something that comes easy to us. So we don't look at our strengths. I don't look at my relationship building or my sales skills as anything other than it's just a given. It's easy because I know how to do it. And now I come to find out that Most people don't have the skill set that I have, and I don't have the skill sets that they have. So when I approached you and I felt like you were ultra confident and you knew a lot of answers already, I felt intimidated. That's the perfect word. I was intimidated. But given that same exercise, when you look into your eyes, deeply into your eyes, and you lock eyes, and even without saying a word, I don't know, what is it about that brings down barriers, do you think?
Well, first of all, a lot of people are not used to actually being seen. I didn't realize a lot in the Midwest. I had experience with a bunch of women, especially, who, if I looked at them too long, they felt uncomfortable and had to walk away. And I thought, what is that about? I took it a little personally at first before I understood, until I realized, oh my God, nobody stands in their power long enough to connect with another person.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone flits their eyes. They're anxious. They don't want to be seen. They feel like they're being read or being judged. It's a ton of insecurity. And when this partner of mine at this event said that, I had to kind of smile, because I already know that about me. And it's okay, because I also don't need to go around and make everyone who feels slightly uncomfortable or not confident. I don't have to bend over so you feel comfortable around me. My goal is to if I'm holding the space for your confidence and your greatness, and you're going to meet me where I am. It's not going to be the other way around. So the part of that is me being comfortable with people not liking me or not thinking I'm approachable, which I'm totally am. Those of you that listen to the show, I hear from you all the time. You feel me. And maybe if you were to see me and then hear me, maybe you'd have a different response. But because you feel protected in your car, you're listening and you can feel me differently.
But the only argument that I would have against that belief is that you're missing out on an opportunity to have a relationship with someone who is not willing to go beyond that comfort zone. And not to say that those are the people that you necessarily want to have a relationship with, but sometimes, given enough time, just like in our case, given enough time, that relationship will evolve. And
right. I'm not disagreeing with you. But my job, nor my desire, I had no desire to make deep, meaningful conversation and relationships with 150 or 200 people in the room.
Yeah, I get it. There's got to be some level of
discernment,
right, and self-elimination.
Discernment.
Okay.
Right, and frequency. So how do you know who you are? Well, it's going to change. You got to do some work on yourself, and then there's the difference of what is it that you need? And no one else is responsible for figuring out what your needs are. And I would say I did a bunch of shows. I don't think I've published them here on women, men, and relationships, but I did a bunch on spirit, purpose, and energy. Maybe I did them here. But there was healing childhood wounds. Are you a victim, rescuer, or persecutor? Changing the patterns from childhood and family. So those were all shows with Lynn Forrest that go over the victim triangle, which we're going to work on this weekend at the Next Big Step and probably again in January. But looking at your dynamics, your family dynamics, how you come in, how you play with people. Are you a victim? What's your starting gate position? So those kinds of things, those self-evaluations of, are you a victim, rescuer, or persecutor? Are you firstborn, secondborn, baby of the family? Are you someone who has really negative thoughts and beliefs about yourself that you beat yourself up and have shame all day long? Like, these are things to start recognizing, and the only way you're going to know who you are and to be able to hold your ground in a relationship or come to the table to negotiate any of that is you got to know who you are. You can't wait for others to tell you, and too often a lot of us are waiting for other people to tell us who we are. So the bottom line for today's episode of how do you keep your ground, keep your ego.
How do you maintain your identity?
You have to know your identity. You have to protect it from yourself. You have to be able to understand who you are, so that way when you are with other people who either don't understand, don't accept, don't know, get triggered by you, that you know how to handle it. And the more work you do on healing your own wounds, the more you can see others more clearly and their stuff. I'll tell you that back in the day, and a lot of those of you that are out there in the world, whether you're speakers or authors or trainers, and you do videos and you do podcasts, and sometimes people just crumble, like Brene Brown did it. It's a crumble at the feet when you get all that negative feedback. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't crumble for a little while too if I got like 1 million people or 100 people or 3,000 people out of 1 million downloads that people like hated me. But I'll tell you, I've worked on that enough that I have a new appreciation on that. And so when I have haters, which I do, it actually makes me smile now because I know it's not about me. It's about them. It's about their stuff that they want to project onto me. And I feel at least like, wow, I've helped be the catalyst for you. So when you can get to a place where you can hear criticism from someone else and know that it's about them,
that's good shit.
It's really good.
God.
It's really good.
I am looking forward to that day. Right now, it still is just that just triggers the crap out of me, and oh God, it's just hard. It's hard when I get that one negative review. We have 200 and I don't even know how many reviews we have on our podcast, on the Nice Guys podcast, but we have 3 1-star reviews and 250 or 260 5-star reviews. And I'm like, which is the ones that I focus on?
The 1-star.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh.
And that's normal to a certain degree, but it's also letting you know where you have areas to heal. So when you get triggered, rather than thinking about it in a self-abusive kind of way about where you're not, think of it as, just something I need to work on and heal, and know that there's progress, know that there's hope, know that there's answers. I have a toolbox full of stuff that can help fix any condition, anything you have going on. I don't care what it is. I got some answers for you to help. So just know there's hope. I am proof of it, and I'm sure plenty of you have also dealt with your stuff, and you can also see the growth. So hang in there, and we will be back next week. Will we? Let me think about that. Yes, so we're going to have to record on Wednesday. We'll be back next week with some more women, men, and relationships, and talking about between the how do you hold your own ground, how do you know yourself. Maybe we'll dive a little bit deeper into what kind of work is necessary at what stage and why. And how much time do you spend working on yourself? Where do you start? What do you think about that?
I'm ready for another episode. This is fun. I like doing a podcast with you. Thanks, baby.